You almost lost your dick for cross-country skiing?
Welcome to the Kevin Clancy Show. I've been in this game over a decade, and I knew I needed a place where I could run wild on my own solo podcast, where I tell personal stories, I deep dive into conspiracy theories, we rip through the current events of the day, and we do sit-down conversations with the most interesting people on the internet. Make sure you click subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
What's up, you mutts? It's another episode of the Kevin Clancy Show, back in action. I missed a couple weeks. The first one, COVID absolutely kicked my ass, and then the second one, I went away. So we're back at it, and got an announcement for the listeners of the Kevin Clancy Show, which I believe to be my most diehard fans. If you're listening to this show, you probably listen to KFC Radio and Friday Night Pints, and you're watching 1 Minute Man and all that. But we come here to do the one-on-one thing, and I feel like the guys and girls who listen to this show are probably the people who have been riding with me the longest. Also, what's cool about this show is I've always kept this on the back burner to kind of experiment and be able to do shit. Like, sometimes it was with me and super producer BC. Other times it was me solo. Sometimes I'm doing interviews. Sometimes I'm doing one-on-one. And so we're going to do like another iteration of this, and we're going to take it live. Fuck it. We'll do it live. So, starting next week, I'm going to do the Kevin Clancy Show / kind of like the 1 Minute Man show. Basically, for a look behind the curtain, I initially always wanted to capitalize on the success of 1 Minute Man by kind of making that like my entire brand. By making, just all things 1 Minute Man. That's my biggest success. That's what everybody going forward is knowing me as. So like, let's make something into that. And so I don't know. I mean, I guess I can't call it like the 1 Minute Man show, but it might be starring the 1 Minute Man or whatever it may be. The basic idea is that we're going to go back and do it live. I'll be taking live calls. But other than that, it's same sort of idea, but we'll be on YouTube live every Wednesday. I think the plan is to do it at 10 a.m. So I'll do it that morning, and then it'll be out on YouTube live right away. And then and we'll rip the audio and post first thing Wednesday afternoon. So just a little bit later, but also you can now go back to listening to me live, which is another thing that people, the most diehard of my listeners, were always looking for. They liked when I was on Barstool Radio. They liked CCK. Live does add a different element because you can just talk about the things happening right then and there in that moment. It kind of, when you do live radio, your barometer kind of and your benchmark for what you do and don't talk about is kind of different. You handle yourself differently. We can also do live calls, and there's always a chance that I say something and get canceled because there's no safety net. You're live. So who knows? So tune in, because every single week you might witness a man lose his career. It's kind of like Russian roulette every single time you get on a mic. So Kevin Clancy Show, an hour with the 1 Minute Man, the 60-minute man show, whatever you want to call it, will be live next week, Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern time on YouTube Live on the KFC Radio YouTube, where we hit 100,000 subscribers. So thank you guys for anybody who subscribed there. We'll get into some questions. So we haven't done the mailbox in a little bit, so we'll do that. First, I got to rattle through just a couple things going on in pop culture. And it's brought to you by 3Chi. Before we get into it, I mentioned how, you go on live radio and you might lose your career because you might say something stupid, right? And it just made me realize, and I know we talked about cancel culture ad nauseum, but one of the questions we do on ATI is, if you had to name this era, what would you name it? Like if you were a historian one day and you're writing the history books and you're like, the 2020s were the blah, blah, blah. There was the roaring 20s and the 1920s and the Great Depression and then the war. What would you call this era? And a lot of times, I throw out the influencer era or the OnlyFans era or whatever. But what I realized, what we all like kind of live through now, and it is a kind of a spin-off of cancel culture, if you will, even though very few people actually get truly fully canceled. But we do live in the era of being absolutely terrified at all times what you're saying and doing and putting out there on the internet. And the reason I was thinking about it is because I'm watching Pam and Tommy on Hulu, the story of Pam Anderson and Tommy Lee and their sex tape getting stolen. And it's, first of all, it's an amazing show if you are like my age. I say amazing, not meaning like it's Breaking Bad. I'm saying it's amazing because it's a walk down memory lane back into the mid 90s and it's not just Pam and Tommy. It's like, yeah, of course, there's the nostalgia of looking at Pamela Anderson, who's played by Lily James, who Lily James is a rocket, but I never thought of her as like Pamela Anderson, sexy, hot. And they completely replicated her. It's fucking unbelievable. I think she wears like a prosthetic on her forehead and her cheeks, of course, her tits. Like it's Pam to a T. Pam and Tommy, like carbon copies. So you're not only like remembering that and Baywatch and shit like that, but just like this, all the surrounding culture of the mid 90s, the outfits that Seth Rogen's wearing, the music people are listening to, the technology that's being used, all of it is like just a time warp blast from the past. But what was wild is watching in this show, and you don't really know, it's not like Pam and Tommy participated in this. They both probably fucking hate this. Although I don't know, kind of paints them in a pretty good light. It actually makes you feel bad for them. So maybe they don't hate it, but the show portrays it as when the tape first starts making the rounds, they're like, it's no big deal. A few people are going to see it, I guess. Pam's freaking out, but Tommy's kind of like, I don't know. What's the worst that could happen? Because they just didn't even understand the internet, and they didn't understand the idea of it being out there for mass consumption. And there was just, that was light. I just can't even really remember that life. And I certainly don't even know what it would be like to live it as an adult now, where you just weren't worried. Like this era is the era of worry, where, you know, you do have to just watch every single thing you say. And you do have to worry about backlash. And that's not to say that you're going to lose your job or lose your life, but it's like you will experience blowback, and you will have to deal with, you know, some people describe it as, well, that's just consequences for your actions. Like, yeah, sure. But there didn't used to be, you know, sweeping consequences for every single action. And so the thought that like someone makes a sex tape, of course they have enough, enough foresight to lock it up in a safe. So it wasn't completely carefree, but it gets stolen. And it was just kind of like, I don't know. I guess a few people are going to see it. And then even when they're like, oh, they're selling it on something called the internet, the World Wide Web. They were like, what could this possibly mean? And it was just so, it was like so foreign to them that I just can't even imagine the world being like that. Like everything, the stakes are just so high on everyday life now, where like sending a casual tweet, posting a picture, letting a video fly, the potential for what could happen is through the fucking roof, in a good way, where all of a sudden you could be the next big thing. You post something and you're the next, because of your looks, because of your talent, because of your luck, because of whatever, you could be discovered and you are on your way to a career you never thought possible. Or, you know, you're canceled or fired or vilified or whatever it may be. And there's just no like casual, easy living. I mean, Pam and Tommy were fucking mega stars. Pam was. Tommy was like, had already been a star. They get into all that as well. It's a cool show if you like know the story a little bit and you remember them and you lived through that era. Also just preposterous. I think I talked about it on a couple episodes ago, where his dick is just, I don't know if it's Sebastian Stan's real dick or not, but there's a dick out that is moving around like a fucking serpent with Jason Mantzoukas voicing the dick. Crazy. But imagine just living that life. And maybe I'm hypersensitive to it now because it's like everything I do, but you know, just not really caring, just being like, yeah, whatever, it'll be fine, man. Because no one's, you know, like I've said this before, but I just don't think humans are made to interact on a mass scale level. Like I think you're supposed to have like your familial unit and your friends and your local community and your profession. Like, that's it. That's all you like. What would be your perfect ideal number for people to like that you interact with? And some are close and you talk all the time. And some are like, you know, the occasional acquaintance, like 50 people. Do you really need like more than 50 people? Probably 25. You have a couple family members, a few close friends, a couple coworkers you don't hate, a couple neighbors you can tolerate. You date some people, 25 people. But now because of social media and connecting, I can reach me, hundreds of thousands of people, but even you, like as a regular person, if you're normal and you don't have a career in this, you're firing off tweets to like several hundred people at a time. Everything you post is going out to a couple thousand friends, and they post and it's, I don't have to describe to you how social media works, but when you think about what everybody on a casual day is connecting to, it's terrifying. I have to remind myself regularly because me and Feidelberg shoot the shit. I say God knows what. I was talking about if I had a twin, would I jerk him off yesterday? And I said it so fucking casually, not realizing that's going out to like 100,000 people that very day. Or when I'm doing 1 Minute Man, forget about it. 1 Minute Man's terrifying me these days. The numbers on 1 Minute Man are through the goddamn roof. Everything now is hitting like 3-4 million. We're seeing crooked numbers. I'm putting up 5, 6. The Portnoy one the other day did 8 million. Everything's like at least minimum 2. And people get all chirpy, but oh yeah, they autoplay. Yeah, everybody on Instagram has autoplay. So it's all relative, dude. My shit autoplays, your shit autoplays. Does yours do 8 million? Does mine do 8 million? It's all relative. They all play by the same rules. And when it's reaching numbers like that, I freak the fuck out because I'm like, this is not good. And I guess it is good for business, but you just think about the number of people that it can reach. And I wonder just how much, like if you just if you took someone like myself who's in this career, or even just a regular person who's not, and transported it back to 1994, just how much more like carefree you'd be. Like the people back then would think you're a neurotic freak. Like, oh man, I got to delete all my tweets before I get this job so nobody scrubs my history. They'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like the girl who got canceled from Matt Stafford, who was like 14 years old and posting N-words and homophobic slurs. That girl is a freelance photographer. Okay. She probably never in a million years thought that one person would look up any of her past tweets. And then you go viral. Going viral, the worst thing that can happen to a normal person is going viral. And if you're trying to do it like me, it's like still a dicey proposition because you just don't want that many eyeballs and people taking that much interest in you because everyone's an asshole. If everybody took interest in you and were like, awesome, man, that was cool, or that was funny, or hey, we all like you, then that would be great. But instead, it's like, I'm going to dig into his history and I'm going to find his flaws and I'm going to find the one thing that they've done wrong. And we're going to prove why you shouldn't give them any money, support, fame, friendship, whatever. Because people are just so quick to be like, well, no, I want to tear this down. Oh, someone who I don't like likes you. Well, I'm going to take you down by association. That girl was probably a teenager and just a dumb asshole. And she falls off a fucking stage because someone famous was in a field of view. Her name is now known. Because people don't like Matthew Stafford, they donate money to her. Because people donate money to her, people start to look into her, find out she says these slurs, kicked off the internet, basically. All because she fell. Or you got Annie Agar, the girl who she does those like fake Zoom calls with the NFL, does like football viral videos. There was a few tweets of hers. One was talking about Felix Hernandez wearing his hat sideways, saying you're not in the hood. And another one was talking about how NFL players are in jail, like they're all in jail. Something else, and it's like, yeah, I mean, are we just gonna do this forever? It's like that one I can't get into. Like I can't defend because anybody who garners any sort of fame who doesn't scrub their social media is fucking insane. The minute that you start getting followers, delete every single one of your tweets. If you are an athlete who's about to be drafted, delete your entire account, start a new one. If you are a musician who finally got a hit, delete the whole fucking thing, start a new one. No, like that girl went viral, got tons of followers. God gotta audit your shit. And ultimately what's like nice about Barstool is that we don't do that. It's like everybody already knows. All my tweets are already out there. Deleting them, not deleting them, doesn't fucking matter. So when you live with your skeletons out of the closet, just on the fucking coffee table, it's a lot easier. That's like the era of fear, or the era of worry, or the era of always looking over your shoulder or wondering, like, will people find this out about me? It's just such a bizarre thing. And the Pam and Tommy thing really like kicked it off for me, where it's like people back in the day just used to live their life, have their opinions, associate with people with like-minded opinions, not ever associate with people without who differ. Whether that's, on a dating app or a social media app or a forum or a web page or a Twitter space or a live, whatever. It's just like, this person, I don't agree with anything they say. They don't like me. I don't like them. So we're just never going to be around each other. But you're forced to do so. You're forced. Even you can curate who you follow, but other people throw your name onto their timeline and then they're investigating you. It's just shit that is so bizarre and complex and counterintuitive to how humans live, that I can't even believe how much easier and fun life used to be. Or it was just like, I don't know, just get fucked up and go to a bar, talk to people, hook up, whatever. And then that was it. It was over. You just need to see these people again. Breaking up with people is impossible. You're connected to them forever. Trying to move on from a job, a relationship, a friendship, a school, can never do it. Your past is just always following you. You just never had a chance to like start a new day or turn over a new leaf, because that shit your past is just constantly behind you, just dragging you down. And used to never be a thing to worry about. Would have been fucking amazing. I think it was Trill Withers who used to always say, like, back in the day, you get divorced, you break up, you just go across town, start a whole new life. That other family doesn't even know about you anymore. You just get a clean slate, get started, fucking pick a new name, do whatever you want. Easy. God, that would be fucking incredible. But I guess the flip side is that, could never even have a job like this, because that opportunity wouldn't ever have been there, because I would have had to be like a newspaper columnist and break through and be one of like 20 people on the planet who has, influence and a fan base. So, there's obviously a lot of good with the bad, but the like naivete of Tommy and Pam being like, well, what's the worst that could happen? It's like, well, I'll tell you, you're going to have the most famous sexual intercourse of all time. It's actually a good topic. Who do you think is the most famous sex ever? Like, you got Kim and Ray J, you got Pam and Tommy, Paris Hilton sucking that guy's dick in the night vision. But also you got Bill Clinton getting head from Monica Lewinsky. I feel like Mark Anthony and Cleopatra fucking was probably a big deal. That was probably some important ass sex. Not important ass sex. Important ass sex. Maybe important ass sex. I feel like back in the day in the Roman Empire and shit, we know the Greeks were butt fucking all day long. I don't know about the Romans. Most important sex of all time ever had. Me with your mom. Got him! But it's an interesting question nonetheless. Anyway, also, let me rattle through some other shit here. The dude in the Olympics from Finland, the cross-country skier whose dick almost froze off. Holy Christ on the cross. Talk about the juice not being worth the squeeze. You almost lost your dick for cross-country skiing? I know it's the Olympics and it was your dream to win, but at the end of the day, cross-country skiing is the worst event in the world, by far. Like, let me put on skis and walk around on them. Cross-country skiing is like when you go scuba diving or snorkeling and you put your flippers on, but you have to walk before you get into the water. You're walking on the beach or you have flippers on, walking by the pool, and you do that awkward little floppy walk. That's their sport. Ugh. It's like, hey, skis where you go down the hill super fast, where you hit that crazy jump, all that cool shit. We're not going to do that. We're just going to walk awkwardly Fuck that. And this dude at the Beijing Olympics, the conditions were so harsh. They chopped down the distance. First of all, the original distance is supposed to be 50,000 kilometers. 50,000, right? Am I wrong on that? 50,000, not 50,000 kilometers. 50,000 meters, right? No, what is it? Either way, I saw the 50K and I was like, I mean, imagine that. Imagine if there was that was 50,000 kilometers. That's like, that gets you to like the fucking moon. 50. It was supposed to be 50 kilometers. And it got cut down to 30 kilometers because the conditions were so harsh. And I guess you just wear like a little thin layer, a little onesie, like a little toboggan thing that I wore the time that we went to do the toboggan in Maine. And so they were already like, it's so fucked up out there. We're just going to do almost half the distance. And dude got frostbite on his dick and said that when he finished the event, he started put like heat packs and warm water and shit. And he said when the feeling starts coming back to your body because you're just numb from everything, so the pain was absolutely unbearable. Imagine the blood rushing back to your dick and you get a life boner. Your dick was frostbitten. It was like retreating into your body. It was like dying. It was about to break and fall off. And then all of a sudden you get back, you get out of the cold and you get into the warm and the blood starts flowing and your dick is now going to like fill up with warm blood. That shock back and forth. You can't have that. That's like when you go scuba diving. Second reference, whoever had that on their bingo card, come on down. When you get the bends for going up too fast, that's like your dick getting too cold and getting too warm too fast. That is a brutal thought, right? But here's the kicker. It's the second time dude almost lost his dick this year. The first time you almost lose your dick due to frostbite, that's on Mother Nature. That shouldn't even be possible. You got to be thinking, I've got my clothes on. It's not that bad out. It's not exposed to the elements. There's no way my dick's going to fall off. And it almost does. And you say, wow, Mother Nature, you are a grimy bitch. You almost took my dick from me. But the second time you do it, the second time you don't go out there saying, wait a minute, last time it was this cold and I did this thing, I almost lost my dick. Let me just go out there and do the same exact shit again. Nah, dude, that one's on you, bro. That is, I got no sympathy for you almost losing your dick 2 times in a calendar year. He finished 28th. Now, here's the thing. That does not say dead last. So just bear in mind, let's just even round it out and say there was 30 people competing. 60. Okay. There was 60 people. Oh my God. Imagine this, dude. Imagine you go to the Olympics. You're training so fucking hard and you finish behind a guy. Half the pack, half of these people who trained all their lives for the last 4 years finished behind a dude who almost lost his cock. That guy was mushing and power walking and his shit was rubbing and chafing and his dick almost falls off and he dusted 32 of you. Some of you guys need a new fucking hobby. If you can't beat a guy who's almost gone dickless, it's time. You know, this guy should have finished fucking 60th, maybe 59th because some other guy, you know, blew out a muscle. Everyone else should beat the guy with an almost frozen dick. If you can't beat a dude whose dick is about to fall off due to frostbite, you are not meant for this fucking sport, bro. That is a fact, Jack. And also speaking of weird penis stuff, the dude who, the 37-year-old virgin in India that had to get 6 feet of string removed from his dick, put him up there on the list of people who I don't really have sympathy for their injured. We'll do the Olympics. I'll do the bronze, silver, and gold of people I don't have sympathy for their broken dicks. Okay. Bronze medal, Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman has broken his dick 3 times by like pop breaking his erection because he had a girl once run across. He sat down on a chair naked with his erect penis out, and he had a girl run across the room and jump and try to like land on him like X-Pac doing the bucking bronco in the WWE Attitude Era, and land on it like shoom, dick into vagina. And obviously she missed the mark because she's not a goddamn fucking Cirque du Soleil circus performer. She's not some sort of astronaut who can, you know, get the tube right in the hole perfectly. So she landed on his penis, broke it, blood everywhere. I can't really sympathize with you much though, because you told a woman to run across the room and stage dive onto your cock. The silver medal goes to the Finnish cross-country skier who he didn't finish that night. The guy who almost lost his dick cross-country skiing. And the gold medal is this dude, 37-year-old virgin, who stuffed 6 feet of string up his cock. I'm sorry, man. You show up to the emergency room, I'd be like, back of the line, there are some other people in here who deserve my attention first, because you, sir, have grossly misused and mishandled some very precious cargo here. 37. And here's the kicker with this one. The New York Post really did him dirty by putting that he was an unmarried virgin. They were like, the headline didn't just say Indonesian man breaks his penis with 6 feet of string. It said 37-year-old virgin. And part of me, I don't know what that says. Part of me thinks, whoa, dude, you skipped a lot of steps. You know, you can just jerk off. You can have sex with a girl or a guy. You can have sex with a toy. There's so much pleasure in between virgin, 72 inches of rope in your dick. That needs to be explored if you're a virgin. 37 years on this planet, you could do some hand stuff. You could do some mouth stuff. You could do some butt stuff. You can do some pussy stuff. You can do some weird, like some all sorts of weird rubber shit. You can, you know, you can do the weird stuff that the Mormons do, where you just put it inside somebody and just sit there. You can dock and you can do that thing where like a girl jerks off 2 dicks at the same time. Some weird shit out there, man. At the very, very end is rope in the dick. I feel like that is for the experienced dick user, you know? Like I consider myself, up until this article, I would say I consider myself an expert dick user. But now I'm like, well, I've never even considered putting string up my dick. So how could I possibly be considered an expert if people are out here doing that? So now I'm I'm middle of the road. But here's a virgin out here. I can't even, the logistics are mind boggling. How do you get hard and you get 72 inches into your dick? That it went into his bladder? It was a nylon string used for beads. Beads. So, you know, you think about it, you put those little beads around and you make a necklace. He put that into his body. And if you look at this string, man, it does not look. The dude suffered from OCD and paraphilia, which is the condition of getting aroused by something regarded as unusual. That's a rather broad stroke, no? Paraphilia? Like, define unusual. Because, you know, aroused by putting string up your dick, certainly unusual. You know, the video I watched the other day of an animated Lara Croft who is in trouble, trapped in a basement, getting all sorts of things, you know, put inside her, probably also considered unusual. But me and him are just going to be in the same category of paraphilia? I don't think so. Doctors looked into the bladder and found a black bundle of nylon string that they extracted with forceps after doing local anesthesia. Holy Christ on the cross, man. And here's the thing about your dick. I said this with Dennis Rodman back in the day. You get one dick. You only get one cock. So act accordingly, We all do weird stuff with it. We all risk it a little bit. We all put it inside of weird things, strange people, places we shouldn't, with other people who don't treat their parts the way they should. We risk it enough. But you can't risk it like physically. The people who do you can kick me and stomp on me and electrocute me or shove things up it. I'll try. I will literally try anything once. I promise you, nothing will ever go in my penis. That is a stone cold promise. Nothing will ever go into my penis. And I know I will be the first to admit that as a young man, I probably gave this exact speech on similar airwaves saying that nothing would ever go into my butt. And I violated that pact. But this one, I can promise you 100%, nothing will ever go into my penis. There was a time where I was as staunchly against it with things going into my ass. And, listen, then you become a man. Little boys say that. Men grow up and go, okay, but the rope and the dick, or this guy, he had 6 kidney beans, full fucking kidney beans in his dick. These guys, you just don't even deserve to have a dick. It's like a parent like taking away a kid's toy. Like, you don't deserve this. You guys don't deserve dicks. They're important. They're awesome. They're a miracle. They're shapeshifters. They get big. They get small. They feel good. They have a life of their own. They can do cool things. They can, it's a fucking party with that thing. And you're gonna risk it out here? Doesn't seem right. These guys should just lose your dick privileges. Should have to lose your dick like the Finnish cross country guy did. Last thing here, this blew my motherfucking mind before we get into the mailbox. I saw this tweet go viral and I didn't even understand it at first. And I had to do some research on it. And this was a tweet regarding the story of Stuart Little. Now, if I were to ask you, what is the story of Stuart Little about? What would your answer be? I'd be willing to bet 100% of you would answer that Stuart Little is a story about a mouse. Am I right? That Stuart Little himself is a mouse. He can talk and walk and he behaves like a human, but he's a mouse. Oh no, my friends. The story of Stuart Little is about a human boy. There was a boy named Stuart. He was born. He just happened to look exactly like a mouse. What? He just happened to only be 5 centimeters tall or whatever, 5 inches tall. That is preposterous. Like, this is the plot of Stuart Little. I know, like, when I read that, I was like, what do you're probably like confused right now because I was. Here's the first sentence of the plot of Stuart Little. A boy named Stuart is born to an ordinary family in New York City. He is normal in every way, except that he's only just over 2 inches and looks exactly like a mouse. Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. This is a boy who's normal in every way, except he looks exactly like a mouse. How about you're not normal in any way then? Forget about Stuart Little. I want the prequel leading up to this, when the mom, Mrs. Little, is pregnant with a mouse. And they're like, oh, Mrs. Little, we're at your 6-month checkup. Just want to let you know, your human boy, who's still a human, don't worry, looks suspiciously exactly like a mouse. But we're not going to call it a mouse. You're not giving birth to a mouse. That would be crazy. You're a human with a human husband. You guys are giving birth to a human boy. He just happens to look exactly like a mouse. No, you gave birth to a fucking mouse, man. If it walks like a mouse and talks like a mouse, it's a mouse. If I had a duck that lived with me, I wouldn't just be like, that's my roommate He just looks suspiciously like a duck, guys. But don't worry, he's really a human. I mean, I guess the kicker here, though, is that he can talk and he can think. Because that's, you know, the differentiator between humans and mice. Like, what's more of a differentiator? Being 2 inches tall and furry with a snout and a tail and whiskers, or the ability to think and talk and rationalize? That's extremely human, but his physical makeup is extremely mouse, vermin, rodent. I would absolutely say that Stuart Little is a mouse that can behave like a boy, not a boy that looks like a mouse. That's crazy talk. Like, not one person in the world, if I just showed you this little mouse, I said, what is that? You'd say, it's a mouse. And then if I was like, but wait, watch this, and it starts to talk and behave like a human and talk to you, you would be like, oh, okay, that's crazy. That's a mouse that can talk. You wouldn't be like, oh, let me change my answer. That's now a human who just happens to be 5 centimeters tall. No. Fucking bananas, dude. E.B. White was on his shit that day, man. There's no fucking way that you can say that. I mean, they go on to say the family's cat dislikes Stuart, but he doesn't attack him because Stuart's a human and humans are off limits. No. He's just a mouse that has been co-signed by the humans. He's like a made man. He's like in the human mafia. You can't eat him because us humans, we love that guy, that mouse. Not that he's a fucking human. Crazy. That one blew my fucking mind. Stuart Little is the story of a boy, a human boy, just happens to look like a mouse. Fuck you, E.B. White. Also, shout out to Charlotte's Web. Charlotte's Web, all-time greatest book of all time. Could you imagine having those two on your resume? Charlotte's Web and a little Stewie Little. That's a fucking 1-2 punch. 1945 was Stuart Little. He comes along in 1952 with Charlotte's Web. That, my friends, is what? Stupendous? Was that one of the words? Spectacular? What were the words? $100 to anybody who can remember the words in Charlotte's Web. Fine. He was a fine pig, right? And then he was, all I remember is the word scruples. He was a rambunctious pig, Wilbur was. I'm just fucking having a time right now. What were the fucking words in the web? Words in Charlotte's Web. Some pig. Terrific, radiant, and humble. That's the Mount Rushmore right there. That's a great trivia question. What were the words? I would have said spectacular or stupendous. Some pig is like, that's garbage. Like terrific and radiant's a great word. Radiant is an awesome word if you want to say that a chick looks very pretty. You say someone's radiant, just don't remind them that E.B. White said that about a pig in Charlotte's Web, because then they'll be like, isn't that how they describe the fucking pig? Humble? Like, no. Some pig, trash, humble, trash, terrific, radiant, good shit. I'm also a huge pig fan now. Never was quite, I didn't really have feelings towards pigs one way or the other. After going up to Whistle Pig Farms and really getting to hang out with Mortimer Jr. and Orwell, I mean, pigs are my favorite animal outside of dogs now. And I didn't know how smart they were, and I didn't know how awesome they were. But you get a big fat pig who I was feeding pigs marshmallows. You know how awesome that is? These motherfuckers come out, and I understand why pigs are called pigs, and I understand why we say like pigging out, because there's and just chowing down on lettuce and apples and marshmallow like it ain't no thing. What a fucking experience that was. Whistle Pig. I mean, I'm drinking it right now. I got my piggyback right here. Whistle Pig has become an important company to us for so many reasons, business-wise, but social-wise, but even now, just like personally, went up there for 3 days, lived on a farmhouse in the fucking hills of Vermont with a personal chef for every meal for 3 days. I had a masseuse come through and rub down my body. I had gallons of whiskey. I had a zillion piggybacks. And I got to tell you, man, I got to get rich soon. This not being rich shit is for the birds. Having a personal chef, even for just a couple days, was an absolute life changer. Every fucking thing you eat is good. I can't even begin to stress to you how important that is. If every meal you eat is like, this is so good. Everything becomes better. If you know that in a few hours it's going to be lunch, and a few hours after that it's going to be dinner, and then I'm going to go to sleep and wake up to another delicious meal. If every few hours you have delicious fucking food coming your way, your life is good no matter what. Period. And then you sprinkle in a massage, some high quality whiskey. I'm shooting pool. I'm doing bonfires. I'm making s'mores. I'm watching TV with the snow in the background, getting all cozy, and it's 10 degrees outside. It was spectacular. It was radiant. It was humble. It was incredible, man. Whistle Pig, I can't say good enough things about them. Their whiskey's incredible. They are good people. They are a great company, and we are now going to take over the world with the piggyback cocktails in a can. Go get them. If you're lucky enough that they're in your state, get them, buy them. Truly, genuinely cannot co-sign it enough. These are things that, like, there are some companies we got to push for business. They sign up, they pay the bills. This is a company I would push these guys for free. Don't tell them that, but this is the real fucking deal. And me, that was the closest I ever went from being an indoors guy to an outdoors guy. I basically was like, if you took the outdoors and just kind of put a roof over it, or just took the indoors and just like slightly put it out in like a porch, that's kind of what I did. But man, if I could get down with it in the cold, in the snow, if I'm loving that life, it's the real deal. It's the good stuff. All right, let's get into the mailbox for the day. It's brought to you by Cuts Clothing. Now, when I was up there in Vermont, trying to just be comfortable and cozy and warm all day and night long, that's where I'm bringing my Cuts Clothing. It's the perfect, most versatile shirt there is. I'm rocking it underneath my hoodie to stay warm because it's tight and nice and form-fitting, keeps me cozy, keeps it soft, keeps me comfortable. But also, if I'm just rocking it when I'm sitting down to dinner with a fucking gourmet chef, I look sharp. They've got the V-necks, the crew necks, the Henleys. They've got the scoop cut, the elongated cut. You can mix and match all the style, all the colors from the staples from your closet, the black, the white, the gray, the navy, the tan, all the staples. You can mix and match the different ways it's stitched, the different tops, different bottoms. And so you have an entire wardrobe based on the stylish classics where you know that you're always going to look sharp, whether you're going out, whether you're going to work, whether you're indoors, outdoors, you will always look sharp and be comfortable. This is the only shirt worth wearing. They've also got hoodies. They've got it all, everything you need. Warm weather, cold weather, fancy, not fancy, comfortable, stylish, all of it. You can get it at cutsclothing.com, CUTS clothing.com/Kevin, Kevin, and get 15% off your first order. It's the only shirt worth wearing. The work leisure apparel, the sport of business. It's cutsclothing.com/Kevin. Kyle writes, how many lives do you think you've ever ended? Bugs, mice, etc. Must be thousands, right? Well, it was that family I slaughtered. Killed that dude. His wife. Killed those couple kids that one time. I don't know. I mean, I feel like thousands is crazy. Right? I mean, because, when you like, when I was a kid, I was probably like 8, 9, 10, probably 10. I swatted a fly. I went through this phase where I thought I was nasty with the fly swatter. Old school. Do people even like have fly swatters anymore? Like, I bet you like Gen X doesn't even know, or Gen Z or whatever one the young one is, doesn't even know what a fly swatter is. I think you got these electrical things that zap and all this shit. But I'm talking about a good old fashioned coat hanger twirled up with a little spatula thing on the front. Whap! I feel like those are like obsolete. They've just gone completely. I haven't seen one of those in like 20 years. But I felt when I was a kid, I used to think I was nasty with it. I probably wasn't, because I was probably just like a fourth grader who was just an asshole. But I would run around like in the summertime, hitting mosquitoes down in Jersey Shore, swatting the greenheads. Oh, there are two types of people in this world. The people who know the pain of a greenhead at the Jersey Shore, and the lucky ones. Greenheads, oh my God, they give me the chills just thinking about it. We used to go stay at my cousin's house in Beach Haven in Long Beach Island. And they had this huge bush on the bay side of Beach Haven. And it just had greenheads living in it right by their pool. And so sometimes we would play basketball or whatever, and the ball would go in there and you'd have to go get it. And you'd get swarmed with these greenheads and they would eat you. And it was so painful, those little bites. Worse than a bee sting, worse than anything. That if you saw a greenhead land on your cousin or your buddy, you'd be like, "Greenhead, get down!" And everybody would get down and splash around till the greenheads would fly away. And those motherfuckers would stay on you even when you went under the water, and they would still chomp on your head and your neck and your body. It was awful. I mean, it was like, you know, when you fuck around with your siblings and your cousins, you want to see them in pain. You want to prank them. You want to fuck with them. And so you think like, oh, good. Just let that fucking bug eat them. It'll be funny. No, there was a code where it was like, these things hurt so much and you want good greenhead karma that you look out for your brother. Being around greenheads at the Jersey Shore is like Band of Brothers. It's like, we don't leave anybody behind here, man. We all look out for each other. Those greenheads are fucking evil, dude. So I would run around with the fly swatter, trying to fucking keep my family safe, right? And this one time, my grandfather said to me, you know, that fly was going home to his family. And you killed him. I think he's just fucking with me. I have a vivid memory of him going, he was going home to his children. And I fucking had like a existential breakdown as like a 10-year-old thinking. I had like a philosophical crisis where I was like, well, who's to say that fly doesn't have a consciousness? Who's to say that he wasn't going home to his kids? I'm pretty sure they're just like a one brain cell creature that can't reason or think or feel, but maybe they do. Maybe that fly is not a fly at all. Maybe that fly is just a human boy who happens to be born and look exactly like a fly. Fucking lost it, man. I'm 37 years old. I still think about it to this day. Shit happened like almost 30 years ago, and I'm still bugging out about the time that my grandpa called me a fly murderer. But that's my point, is that you know about like I guess, you know, you throw down some mice traps and rat poison and shit. You don't know how many ate that and just stumbled away and died. You don't know how many times you stepped on an ant, killed a bug. How many times, you know, you spray your backyard and just wipe out bees and shit. I don't know. How many living creatures do you think you've killed? I don't think it's in the thousands. Probably in the hundreds. Can you give a recap of your Action Bronson situation? I feel like I never heard the whole thing. Sure. Action Bronson came through in the old Barstool studios. That was probably like 2016, maybe. And it was cool. He was doing everything on I think it was Vice, on the Vice channel. And we were having a good interview, and I brought up his beef with Ghostface Killah. I said, in classic KFC radio fashion, where we're doing hypotheticals and answer the internet type questions, one of the questions was something like, it was like, who would you send to be the ambassador for the human race if aliens came down? And usually people talk about like sending their favorite person or the best representation of the human race. And I think Action said, or maybe I send my biggest enemy, because who knows, maybe these aliens just wipe them out. I don't know if Action brought that up or Feidelberg, but someone brought up the notion of being opposite, sending your biggest enemy. Pretty sure it was Action, because then I said to him, would you send Ghostface? Because he had beef with Ghostface. And Action Bronson did not like that. And he was like, I bet you think you're fucking cute saying that. And I was like, no, well, just, you know, brought up, you know, a story, a part of your rap career, but, you know, whatever, we don't have to answer it. And then I tried to keep it moving, but I could see he was just staring at me. And I asked another question that involved me saying something like, would you like to, I probably said something like, you know, what else you want to do in your career? Would you like to do this? And he goes, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to throw you through the fucking wall right now. And I was like, okie dokie. Okay. And that's when I was like, all right, I was like, all right, man. And I didn't mean to upset you, but like, let's just wrap the interview up here because obviously you have no interest in doing it. And then he, kept talking some shit to me, and he's fucking massive, now he's like cut. But this was before he like really hit the gym. Either way, whether it's action then or action now, part of me like wishes, as long as I didn't like break all the bones in my body, wishes he would throw me through the table. That would have been pretty fucking cool. Pretty memorable if like he actually did it. And boy, did fucking Feidelberg just poof, disappear. See you later. You don't want to be in a foxhole with that guy. Let me tell you, in a dark alley, someone coming up to you, don't count on Feidelberg. He was just like, whoop, go ahead, beat his ass action. But I don't know. It split the listeners were divided. I think a lot of people were like, why the fuck would you ask that question? Like, why the fuck would I ask this rapper? And it wasn't really asking a question. It was more just like bringing up the situation. I never even got a chance to actually talk about the beef, but why the fuck would I talk to a rapper about one of the biggest beefs he's ever had? Because it's fascinating. And that's part of like one of the most interesting parts about hip hop and rap culture is when people get in rap beefs and how do they handle it and what the response was and who won the battle and all that shit. I think that is absolutely fair game. Some people are like, well, why would you bring up something he doesn't want to talk about? It's like, I think people should talk about. I don't think anything should be off limits. And usually if something is off limits, we're told about it ahead of time and we make the decision whether we're cool with that or not. A lot of times people will say like, you can do the interview, but you can't bring up, my scandal. And we're like, well, okay, then we're just going to pass on the interview because we don't want to, like, that's what we want to talk about. And you don't want to talk about it. So it's all good. We don't have to do it. But if nothing's brought up to me, then I kind of assume everything's fair game. And, but it's also cool if he wants to just be like, fuck you. It led to a good moment. I wish there were more moments, more contentious moments in podcasting. I can count, it's just two fingers, really. It's Action Bronson, and we had Kathy Griffin in. Kathy Griffin came in to promote her book. And we basically were kind of like, she hated Trump and she was bashing him and she was being like, this is so ridiculous. Because at that point, Trump like had her on a no-fly list and was making her life hell. And granted, Trump was just as childish back to her. But we were kind of like, yo, you filmed a video where you like beheaded him in effigy. You chopped his head off and held up his like bloody skull, his bloody severed head. And like, you're surprised when that guy doesn't like you and wants to come back at you. The Secret Service was like contacting her and bothering her. It's like, I'm pretty sure they got to check up with the woman who, said she was going to chop off the president's head. Now, again, it was just his petty back and she didn't need to be like detained. And I think he probably went over the top with it, but we were kind of like, yo, Kathy Griffin, you're kind of an asshole too. Right. And she started, she was so hacky. She was like the same. She was calling us like sports jocks and shock jocks. And she tried to like wink at Feidelberg a couple times, like playing with him, like looking at me, almost being like, yeah, what about this Jamoke? And I was kind of like, no, I'm on his side. You fucking suck. But it was cool. I like that. You used to have like when it was live radio and you needed a book to be promoted or your album to be promoted, there was only a few options, right? Like if you're in New York, it was like, all right, I got to go to like Hot 97. I got to go to Z100, Howard Stern. Maybe if you're lucky, there's a few options, a few big options. And it was like, if you like them, good, get along with them, fine. But if you don't, like, you still need their promotion. So can you go on and just be civil and get this promotion? Or maybe you have a disagreement and you have some argument and you have some debate. Now it's like, there's 50 million podcasts, 50 million shows where it's like, I'm going to go on the show of the people who like me, where I know I'm going to have a quiet, easy conversation. That's, it's just not as interesting. I wish it was more like, you can't expect people to pick shows of people you don't like and don't get along with. It's like, who signs up for that? Who signs up for an argument or, an awkward conversation? But man, I would love it if there were more times like that, where there was some like, whoa, shit, maybe this guy's got to throw me through a wall. Or there is some like, hey, I know you think like, hey, I'm on your side, but I'm fucking not. Let's talk about it. I wish there was a lot more of that. But How is that ever gonna? No celebrities who are doing these rounds and doing press are ever gonna pick that. This comes from Voltron. When I was in high school, I lost my virginity on a family ski trip to my dad. I lost my virginity to my dad's girlfriend's daughter while my dad and that girlfriend were having sex in the room next door. Kicker is I used the naked man from How I Met Your Mother to initiate. Well, let's ignore that because the naked man is extremely problematic and borderline. I guess if you just rip your clothes off and she's into it, all good. But the naked man basically implies I'm going to take my clothes off and put you in an awkward situation until you just have sex with me. Does not really fly in 2022. So Voltron, let's just forget about the naked man for a second. Losing your virginity to a girl while each of your parents have sex next door has got to be one of the best, or I don't know, best is the word, worst, most awkward, most thrilling, most interesting. Let's go with that. Let's go with radiant, terrific, humble. The most intriguing. That's the most intriguing sex that has occurred within like 20 feet of each other. That's up there on the list. I was saying who had the most interesting sex? Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky and Cleopatra and Helen of Troy and all them. How about Voltron here with his virgin girlfriend and their parents right next door? That's some wild shit, man. The thought of listening to like your dad clapping cheeks and being like, I'm coming too, Pop. And then that inherently you're kind of like trying to go harder than him or last longer than him. It's like that. It's, I don't know if it's ever really happened. I don't think I've ever really experienced it, but like the idea of like you hear the neighbor through the wall. So you're like, I'm going to fuck harder than they do. But if you did, and it was your dad or your mom, that's gotta be a wild time to be like, let's throw down harder than they do. Wow. That does feel like an awkward. I mean, I don't know how old you're in high school. So you're between, 15 and 18. That's crazy to just be like, what's worse? Who's it more awkward to be? The kids in that situation who are like, do you hear that? Do you hear that? That's my dad clapping your mom's cheeks. You guys, you want to do that too? How about we do that? Or you're next door, you're a grown adult, you're doing grown adult things. Okay. You're eating this woman's ass. You're doing adult stuff. All right. Doing the counterclockwise thumb. Okay. You're probably doing some light choking, maybe some slapping. And then you're like, wait a minute. Did we leave Tommy and Stacy downstairs alone? I think they're upstairs. I think they're fucking. I feel like that's got to be more awkward for the parents because you're setting the bad example. The kids are like, listen, yeah, you set the rules here. We're fucking? Okay, everybody's fucking. You should have probably tucked us in before you guys, tuck in before you get your fucking. But for the parents have got to be like, well, this one's on us because we got our horny on while our kids were just like, we didn't even check to see where they were at. So yeah, that one falls on the parents. Awkwardness level through the roof for them. I had a funny moment with my dad this week. I got a flat tire when I was bringing my kids over to see my parents. And so me and my dad are out there changing the tire. And I was like, I don't think I've ever really had a flat tire before. And he was like, no, there was one time. It was when you were a kid, you were about to go off to camp during the summertime. And I was like, really? I don't remember that. And he goes, yeah, no, I absolutely remember because it was the first time I asked you if you were doing your girlfriend. And I vaguely remembered when he, because I've told the story before. My dad had the sex talk with me far too late through no fault of his own. I just got an early start because my girlfriend was experienced and older than me and basically a little, rhymes with flatutory mape was going on. And so I had already been, experiencing that for a little while. And he was like, so we got to have a talk. Are you doing that? And he told me this time, just like this past weekend, he told me that it was funny because I didn't even hesitate. He said, I was just like, yep. Like, no awkwardness. No, like I blushed and was like, oh my God, my dad's asking me about sex. No thought that maybe I should lie. He was just like, so
you doing your girl? And I was like, yep, I'm doing her. And boy, was I doing her. I was absolutely fucking that girl. There was a period of time. It was a long period of time where I was like, the best sex I think I ever had was in fucking high school. That's a wild one. Like well into my life as an adult, as a sexually active adult, there was a long time where I was like, I think the best sex I ever had was when I was like 15 years old, which is a scary thought. Because I was like, did I peak at fucking 15 with like kinky wild shit? She was a down one, man. But what a funny thought that I don't even really remember it, but my dad must have been like, okay, ask and you get answers. But apparently I was like, 16 years old being like, yeah, dad, I'm fucking. What do you think? Of course I'm fucking. My boy about to do it. Okay. This comes from Dan. First time. I once had a girl who was a friend of a friend take a shine to me at a party. I don't know what that means. Let's just say take a liking to me at a party. After the party, she was laying it on thick, but I decided to be a gentleman as she was blackout. She proceeded to get naked and get into bed with me. Oh, she pulled the naked woman on you. Goes both ways. When I didn't say I think we should do anything because of how drunk she was, she looked me dead in the eyes and said, quote, if I had bigger tits, would you fuck me? She was not a well-endowed girl, so obviously it was insecurity. Is there a correct answer to that question? I maintain there isn't. That is like a Schrodinger's cat sort of thing. That's like a riddle from Labyrinth with David Bowie, because he's right. If a girl says to me, if I had bigger tits, would you fuck me then? If you say yes, that means it's like, yo, your tits suck so much, I won't even bang you. Your tits are so flat. You look so awful. No way I could ever even get an erection to have sex with you. On the other hand, if she says, if my tits were bigger, would you fuck me? And you say no, that just means everything, like, it doesn't matter. You could have the biggest tits in the world, girl. Your face is busted. You got no ass. You're fucking 8 feet tall. You're too big. You're too small. You're too this. You're too that. That girl really put herself in a pickle there and put him in a pickle. I think I would just get up and run. I think I would just be like, you just dismiss the question. Be like, I'm not having sex with you because you're blackout. And I don't know if you know about this thing called consent these days, but this is how a man like me ends up in jail. That's your fucking answer. I once had a girl in college. Such an idiot. I had a girl in college crawl into my bed. This girl went to the Fashion Institute. So it was my boy freshman year. We all lived in one hallway and we all became really good friends. It was really weird. Like almost probably like on one hallway, there was probably like 10 or 15 dorm rooms, and probably like 10 or 12 of those, we all became like really good friends. That dude had a girlfriend from back home. She came to visit at Fordham. And while she was here, she was like, I'm going to bring my friend from FIT to visit as well. I think her name was Valerie. Val was her name. Rocket, dude. Fucking rocket. She looked like, I think because she wore this outfit. She had like one of those hats on. You know when Britney Spears had this outfit where she had like a halter top crisscross thing with one of those like almost like those Irish scally caps on? If you know, you know. Blonde bombshell. We party, but not just like me and her, but like the whole gang partied all night long. And I finished the night. I don't remember any moments where there was any like we weren't supposed to hook up or anything, but whatever. I was doing my thing. We're hanging out. We're talking all night, I guess. At the end of the night, I go back to my dorm room. I'm in the bottom bunk and she got into bed with me. And I didn't do a fucking thing about it. That one haunts me to this day too. That conversation with my dad and that girl freshman year of college. I was such a fucking baby pussy loser about it that this hot chick got into bed with me. And I was just like, I don't know what's going on. This is weird. I'm in a twin bed. This is uncomfortable. I got to get my sleep. What a fucking loser. Anyway, I don't think there's an answer to that question.
If you had to get a tattoo of a character from a TV show or a movie, who are you choosing? I'm going with Danny DeVito as the trash man from Always Sunny. Great question. I'm a nerd about television. So like it would be funny to do Frank Reynolds, no doubt. And there's a ton you can go with for funny, you know? A ton from Always Sunny you could do. That's funny. But to me, like television to me is like my version of books and novels, you know, like the good TV to me is like, you know, the most important entertainment of our time. And so when I think about this, I think about like classic moments of TV. And so I think it wouldn't even be a person per se. I think I would get a palm tattooed on me and it says "Not Penny's Boat" from Lost. That would be a cool tattoo. It can't be my only tattoo. If I just had my body right now, just like right on my chest, it says "Not Penny's Boat." But if I had a bunch of TV related tattoos and that one was on there as well, "Not Penny's Boat," maybe with like the glass port window, that would be dope. The storyline with Desmond, Charlie, and Penny and Faraday and all that, I still think is maybe the greatest TV storyline of all time. But that, man, "Not Penny's Boat," that moment, that's a fucking heartbreaker. KFC, you've obviously been married before. How do you tell your parents to keep the people they want to a minimum without sounding like an asshole? My parents won't listen to the number I give them. So this guy's getting married. Got to keep the guest list at a reasonable number. And your parents have this is a motherfucker because you got a big family. You got your parents with a bunch of cousins and aunts and uncles and shit that you don't even know. I think it's an easy situation. I think you give them a number, fair number. You got to be like, all right, 200 people are coming to the wedding. Okay. I have 75. She has 75. And then we were going to give each parents 25 each, something like that, whatever, you know? And then you can tell them, but if you want more than that, we ask you to pay for that. I think that's fair. I think you got to give them a good enough number where you can say, listen, this covers mom. This covers pretty much, you know, all the basics, but, if you want more than that, we can do it. We'll add another table. Like there's more capacity, but I'm not paying for, you know, my fourth cousin who I've never even met before. But if you want them there, go ahead. You just got to pay for their plate. Big deal. Let's do one more here. Two more. Cause I got this one here. The Aaron Rodgers cleanse where I don't know if you saw this, but he said he went on a cleanse where he did, like proactive vomiting or something like that, where it was like good vomiting. And then he did enemas every day. I mean, it was truly bizarre shit that I can't imagine. I feel like it was a panchakarma. He was doing a panchakarma cleanse and he openly talked about it. And I feel like he's got to be fucking trolling. No. So you do vamanam. Vamanam is induced vomiting that helps clear the upper gastro, the upper end of the stomach. Then you do virachanam, which is induced purgation that clears the lower gastro, the end of the stomach. Then you do anuvasana, which is an enema using medicated oil. Oil helps lubricate the rectal area to take out all the lipid-soluble waste through the anus. And then you do nasayam, which is nasal installation. So you puke a bunch, then you do a nasal pore cleanse, and then you do a whole bunch of enemas. Now, I think that this is fucking weird. I know that some people do colonics. The Out and About boys were telling me about getting their buttholes and their colons clean. Colonoscopies, the whole nine. I think this sounds batshit crazy and far-fetched. But even if it is what you do and that works, you don't need to be out here telling the whole fucking world Hey, what's your off-season regimen? I puke and shit all over the place. That's why I feel like this is a troll. I feel like Aaron Rodgers has been very mouthy, talking a whole bunch, and I think he's playing with the media right now and playing with the fans. At the same time, I know he's not dating her anymore, but Shailene Woodley was kind of a wacko, and Olivia Munn seems like she'd be into this woo-foo shit. So maybe he did get roped into this, but like, you're a football player and you're telling me like the key to your off season so far is that you're pooping and shitting and puking and enemaing yourself all over the place. Come on, dude. That's fucking weird and pretty unnecessary. I'm done with Aaron Rodgers, man. Done. I know he was a great dude. Donated to the Barstool Fund. That's amazing. Friends with Dave. Seems like a cool dude to him, but the public display has been, it's just like, whether you agree with his politics or not, you gotta agree that it's a lot. He's just constantly putting a bullseye on his back, constantly picking fights, starting debates, and then like kind of crying about it. It's like, no, you're not. You're not being canceled. You're not. He's an example of what I was talking about earlier, where you're like the worry generation. Well, he's the other extreme where it's like, well, yeah, dude, if you're constantly mouthing off about the most hot button issues in society, people are going to come at you. There's going to be problems. There's going to be things you have to answer. There's going to be questions you have to answer. There's going to be conversations you have to have because you keep talking about the vaccine or the government or the president or your fucking asshole being blown out. It's just like, enough, man. And I know he goes on McAfee and he has like basically his own radio show every week. And it's like, good for you, dude. But then don't act like, he was saying his retirement post wasn't cryptic and he should be able to post whatever he wants without people looking into it too much. No, man, that's not how the fucking world works, dude. He is the reason why he's the opposite. I think most people should be able to do what they want and be worry-free and not be judged and not have to deal with the hassle and the blowback. But you've got to like be within reason and stay within the parameters. Aaron Rodgers is going all over the fucking map with it. Last one here, because I know people love the inside Barstool stuff from my man Riley Rabidenko. Shout out to Riley. Also shout out to Surviving Barstool season 2 coming later this year. We do have it. It's officially signed on. How has your relationship with Dan and Dave changed throughout the years? Are you involved in decisions involving the company? So Dan and Dave are obviously off doing their gambling thing. And I think Dave has said as much before where like, because we went the gambling route and he and Dan gamble, they are always together doing content together. And had there been some other company that like Penn that bought us, that was somehow in my field, if it was stand-up comedy or pop culture or television entertainment or something that was in my realm, then like me and him would be doing the content together. The three of us, I think we always stayed professional. So it's like, it doesn't really matter if he's working with me or I'm working with him or Dan's working with me and Dave's the odd man out. I think we're all just down to do whatever it takes to get Barstool to be the biggest and most profitable company and biggest like media empire there has ever been. So I'm like fine with, I don't, part of me wishes I gambled because I'd probably have a lot fucking more money now. I'd probably have lost a lot of money, but I professionally would be in a better spot. But also I don't have any desire to really do that. So it's, if it was like Dan and Dave were doing content together all the time with something that I was like, oh man, like I like that. I wish I was doing that, or I could have done that. And I would like to be involved. That would suck. But it's like when I see them doing, big gambling contests or college football stuff and stuff that I don't do, I'm like, oh, that's all good, man. I don't have any interest in doing that. Obviously wish I was, on the level of they are as far as followers and money and all that shit for sure. But as far as like the three, where we were and where we are now, it hasn't like necessarily changed all that much because it was always pretty professional. Dan and I were closer at one point when we were doing KFC radio, but we never were like outside of work friends the same way we haven't been that with Dave. So it's kind of just an easy, like little tripod thing where they're off on their own doing huge things. And then as far as like, am I involved in decision-making companies, decisions with the company? I do like KFC radio. I make the decisions for that along with John. The big picture stuff is always just going to be Dave and Erica. I'm sure Dan has much more input on some of that shit with Penn and gambling because he is a big gambling figure. But basically at this point, if
you're not involved on the gambling side. You're not going to be doing like management decisions because that's so heavily where we're going. Again, if there was some sort of upper management thing that had to do a lot more with what my realm is, I would hope I'd be involved in decision making. But right now, that just doesn't make any sense. So KFC Radio is kind of like on its own island in a little bit of a way. It's like almost like a little subsidiary, I think, of Barstool at this point, where we kind of do our own thing. And we're under the umbrella, but we have our own like company, our own little company to run. So that's where I'm at. And Dan and Dave will just continue to go, absolutely crush the gambling industry. So good on them. And shout out to Riley. Rest in peace to your dad. Keep your head up, brother. That's it for me. And so next week I'll see you guys. You can catch us live on YouTube, on the KFC Radio YouTube. This will be live, like a little radio show. You can call in, you can catch me live, and then watch the replay on Wednesday. So we'll see you guys then.
Listen, if you made it this far into the video,
which is far, like no one ever does that on the internet.
Like it's the end. You made it to the end of the video.
The full fucking video
you watched
did.
The whole thing. So if you liked it and you watched the whole thing, why don't you subscribe?
It means you like us.
Click the subscribe button, because if you don't, I'm going to fucking murder John.
And I'm going to like it.
Kill him with my bare fucking hands.
Yeah.
And if you weren't sold on this video, there's plenty more. Watch what's next up and then subscribe. But just subscribe so I don't have to fucking kill him.
Well, I don't know. Do what you want, but subscribe. Probably.